Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending this next presentation. We're going to talk about building on layer 2, the strategies, challenges, the future, and ultimately, what does it take to succeed? Now, my name is Dan. And I'm in the space for a while now, since 2017. I worked on a handful of projects. Started off with mining. Back in the day, we had a entire crypto farm with ASIC miners. It's like way back when Dashcoin was popular. That was my kind of like first, the first cycle that I went through. It was all hype, and then it just crashed. And then since then, I was just working on a lot of different stuff, like ranging from, from fintech projects to NFTs, a lot of things. We built a lot of interesting stuff, and I had the opportunity to kind of see it all. Basically, I've seen like projects succeed because of a number of things. I've seen projects failed because of teams, because of like lack of discipline, lack of fundamental business ideas. Sorry, not business ideas, but business models. And I've seen a lot. I like to think that this whole experience kind of ultimately led me to work on a launchpad and to kind of like leverage the knowledge and the experience that I managed to get over the years into helping others to actually make it, because let's be honest, it's not an easy industry. I personally outreached, my position is usually a BD. I'm the head of BD at BlastUp right now. At some point in time, I figured out that my main kind of like unique feature is communication. I enjoy communicating with people. I kind of enjoy understanding like what's the real issue that the company or a person faces, and how can I ultimately help, or what kind of resources are needed to to solve this problem. And that's why I decided to take this path. As a BD, because that's kind of like ultimately what you're doing. You're trying to communicate and solve, issues and find ways to connect. For BlastUp, I contributed. Actually, I wouldn't say it's like my, it's not like me personally who did all the work, but with the team, and I personally contributing to come up with the screening process, the due diligence, the way we look at projects, because as I mentioned earlier, I've seen a lot of stuff, some good stuff, some bad stuff, and I want to kind of use that knowledge for IDOs on Launchpad so that we make sure that the projects that we launch are, at least, kind of checked upon, like that, there's less chance for error and for, things to go wrong, let's say. Now, talking about layer 2, how it all started. Back in 2017, I think, December, there was an NFT collection called CryptoKitties, which did a massive, damage on the Ethereum chain. And the first, the gas went up, people started complaining, and ultimately there was like a kind of, this was kind of like a situation that, kind of like a catalyst for coming up with something that's going to resolve the issue, right? So we're talking about scalability. So that was kind of like everywhere I talk, everywhere I check, like people kind of refer to this situation with the first NFT collection, CryptoKitties, back and then, and that's kind of like the catalyst, and that created the demand. That created demand for layer 2s. Now, fast forward to 2024, where we're at right now, we have a lot of different layer 2s, like side chains, layer 2s such as Arbitrum, one of the biggest one in form of TVL, Base, Blast, the one that we're building on, Polygon, like a hybrid of sidechain and a layer 2. And just to put the amount of TVL, these are TVL numbers, by the way, the 2.8 billion Arbitrum, 1.5 billion base. To kind of put these numbers in perspective, with the amount of TVL that Arbitrum has alone, you could essentially get 2 Burj Khalifa towers. One Burj Khalifa costs like 1.5 billion to make. So just in perspective, the numbers that we're talking. Something that started off as essentially kind of solution to scale, ended up becoming as as kind of like a niche market. I'll get to the next slide. I'll talk about it more. But the whole idea of a layer 2 was to kind of solve an issue with scalability and reduce the load on the chain. But ultimately, it became kind of like a market of its own, with people going to a specific layer 2 to kind of build in an environment that mostly suits their needs. That's what I see. And this kind. Okay, you probably don't see anything. It's not the best slide, but basically what I want to show with this one is that from all the chains that are out, especially you can see Bitcoin is like 8th position. This is a 1 week old statistics, by the way. Like, don't mind the numbers; they might change. But just to put it in perspective, the amount of money that's being circulated on layer 2s is insane. It's just a lot of money, and that's what attracts a lot of builders and a lot of people. And that's why I say that it's kind of like a niche market to serve specific needs. That's what I mean with it. If you think about the popular layer 2s, for example, every chain is famous for something. Nowadays, when people choose, to build on a chain, or when they think about a chain in general, like from a consumer perspective, from a user perspective, they have kind of like an association with it. And I see Arbitrum, or I don't know, it's kind of like my personal view on it. Arbitrum, back in 2021, 2022, I remember Arbitrum was really famous for airdrops. If you remember, like they were like just giving like these insane airdrops. People were talking about them, Arbitrum airdrops, and then bam, suddenly they're like the famous, layer 2 with a lot of TVL nowadays, right? Base is famous for Coinbase. Coinbase, backs up Base. That's what kind of like people what the the main association was with Base. And Blast is, in my opinion, famous for farming. I will get more into Blast in the next slides, but just to give you kind of like the an understanding of how I see this. Now, how to choose the right layer 2? It ultimately comes down to what you need. Nowadays, a layer 2 is just like an environment to kind of help you build and achieve your goals. So you kind of have to look at a number of factors, such as technical possibilities. So what does the chain have to offer? Obviously, there are different rollups. There's like ZK rollups. There's forgot the name of the next one. Doesn't matter. But basically, you need to kind of look up optimistic rollups. You kind of need to look at what you really want to go for, and how that is going to suit your the product that you want to build. Another important thing that I personally look at, since I'm more on the kind of business/marketing side, is the community. For me, that would be like factor number 1. What kind of communities are on that chain? What drives them? Are there like just basically a lot of normies from Web 2, or are these like advanced actual Web 3 users? And what are their capabilities? What can they actually do? Are they just like looking stuff up, or are they actually contributing? Are they able to put in some money in what they believe, or not? Those kind of things. The value proposition of a chain. So what does the chain have to offer? Average user profile. That kind of has to do a lot with community as well. So in more detail, basically demographics, like what kind of users are we talking about? Access to liquidity. And obviously the TVL. One of the reasons why we chose Blast, by the way, is because of the the FOMO and the TVL. As you remember, for those who remember, Blast had this like insane inflow of TVL, and it kind of like generated this FOMO. So obviously that there was an opportunity, to participate in that. Now, just briefly on the Blast chain itself. For those who don't know, Blast chain is, the team that created the Blast chain is pretty much the same team that created Blur. Pac-Man, the founder of Blur, basically decided to make their own chain with, once again, to kind of like provide supply for a demand of a specific niche layer 2 that would, help people to build certain things and to have this environment that would, meet certain needs. And obviously, the success story of Blur, and then the same people building layer 2, obviously that resulted in a massive FOMO and success. So. And one of the value propositions, the main probably value proposition of Blast is the native yields. So essentially it's farming. You participate in farming, you get these native yields on basically the amount of money that you put in through various forms, staking, providing liquidity, or whether it's a DEX, perpetuals, just normal DEX, you swap tokens, whatever you do, you get access to these to the native yields. And that's what attracted a lot of people, a lot of projects, and a lot of farmers. Now, talking about experience, and again, for you guys to understand, this is something personal, and this is something probably even biased, because I cannot talk about what the reality is, because that's kind of like my subjective opinion. But what I can talk about is my experience, what I experienced, what our team experienced during the, during our time building, a launchpad on the Blast chain, is this. So when it just started, January 2024, there was a lot of FOMO. There was definitely a lot of FOMO going on the Blast topic, the Blast chain, and obviously there was an opportunity, right? The entire kind of like blockchain/crypto space is all about opportunities. You kind of need to see where the opportunities are, and you need to time them right. You need to kind of know when to make the entry, and that's what ultimately kind of helped us to, get to the position, to the place that we are right now. I'll talk about our success story a bit later in the slide. But basically FOMO, once there's FOMO, it's kind of like no-brainer that you should kind of like, also ape in and, see where it takes you. So those are the beginning. That was, a lot of fun. You're in the first phase, you kind of like envision, there's going to be fun and a lot of things just, taking place. So that was the beginning, I remember. Then early stages, we kind of just started building something. Most of the team at BlastUp are, exceptional experts. They've been in the space. Like myself, like I'm, I could say I'm like for a long time in this space. I've seen a lot, and so are my colleagues. And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy being in an environment with, people who actually know what's happening. And that's also important. Like, I think for any projects to have, people that actually know what's happening if you want to build something that's going to work. Early stages, so we basically building, and pretty much there were some challenges, but not as much. I would say just pretty much building. We had to establish a network of partners, so we were like new in the space, didn't really, know a lot of people. So one of the challenges for me personally was to, get in contact, get involved with pretty much everyone on Blast. All the big DEXs like Truster, Wasabi, to name a few, and just to kind of like see if we can do something together and kind of like establish yourself in the space, in the game. That's one of the most important parts, especially in the beginning. Then I remember we were building up the community. For us, a part of the success is that we always kind of carefully, we really thought about the promises that we made. So whenever we promised something, we actually delivered. If you look at our roadmap, most of the things are covered, and actually we're even like a bit, a step ahead in terms of development and all the plans that we had. So that's actually a good thing. The next thing was establishment. So basically, we kind of, already established ourselves. We managed to get as the, I would say, the leading launch pad. If you actually think about it, we have, the biggest amount of users that we onboarded on the Blast chain. We're talking about 18,000, more than 18,000 users that we managed to onboard on the Blast chain. Most of them are normies. We had to also educate them, so that's also kind of like a big challenge. But once that's done, and you kind of start comparing projects to like who's doing what and what's the actual value and the input that they did in the in the space. So in my personal opinion, we did the most from the launch pads, let's say, right? And then the next level is this expansion. This is what we're facing right now, challenges related to expansion. How can we move further? How can we keep this momentum and not to lose it? So the project that we're working on is called BlastUp. Remember that name, BlastUp? I'm pretty, excited about the project myself. In just over like 4 months, we managed to raise over $8.2 million. And it's important to note that there's no VC backing. This is a community-based launchpad. No VCs. We didn't get money from no one. This is all, users that we managed to get ourselves through marketing for different strategies, and we got to the amounts that we got. You know what I mean? Like, this is important because there's often these cases when any third parties are involved with a big bag. They can just dump on you, and different things can happen. There's certain stuff that is going on, behind the scenes. Certain projects wouldn't want to work with you if you have, certain things going on. So it's a bit complicated, but I'm personally proud that we managed to do it without any backing. We did it by ourselves. We have a huge amount of holders. We have our own token called BlastUp, and we have over 18,700 holders of that token. And those people were introduced to us. Once again, we introduced those people to the chain. Most of them were normies. So that's our contribution to the chain. That's what we did. Talking about the chains that we work on, used to be Blast only, since we have the entire infrastructure figured out so that users could tap into the native yields of the Blast chain. But since recently we integrated other chains, and that's going to be probably the way to go. Multi-chain IDOs. We have Base, we have Polygon, BSC, and ETH, and there's going to be more. Why did we choose Blast? I already mentioned this. FOMO, opportunity, seize the moment, so no brainer there. How to grow as a launchpad. Now, this is a topic that there's no kind of like magic pill that's gonna solve your problem. And if I tell you like, okay, just do this, and it's gonna be like this. There's no such thing. When it's the case about how to grow, or which marketing strategy is better, or which business approach is better, there's no such thing as a universal answer for to solve this. It's all about trial and error. Plus, you have to have understanding of what you're doing. So you need to have this experience, or you need to have someone who has experience, who did it, who knows what it is, who faced the challenges, who faced those people, that could set you up and stuff like that. So there wasn't like a universal formula, but it ultimately comes. If I would suggest something, I would just suggest to probably try everything what you can, see what works, and then stick with what works, but also make sure you know what you're doing, so you have experience what you're doing, or get someone who has that experience. That's also important. How we evaluate and screen projects for IDO. This is also an interesting topic. Like I mentioned, most of the team at BlastUp, we have a lot of experience in this field. I personally bought a lot of projects myself. I participated in a lot of, pre-sales. I bought a lot of, shitcoins and fundamentals, DeFi stuff. I did a lot. I also worked in a lot of projects. I did a lot of NFTs as well. But ultimately, it comes down to like a number of factors. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. Just briefly mentioning, what's really important is probably the team, and you have to really look at the experience. So, okay, they say that we're like we're in the space for a long time, and this and that, but you really need to dive deep and look at, okay, what did they actually do? Which projects did they launch? How successful those projects were? What was the impact of those projects? Which challenges did they face? Maybe, okay, the guy contributed, but maybe his contribution was like, I don't know, he just wrote a few articles and that's it. You never know. You really need to like check in detail what's going on, and that's only the team side. Obviously, the tokenomics, how realistic this is, the whole business model of what they're trying to do, the idea, what they're trying to solve. And ultimately, like, again, there's no like ideal solution, and it's never going to be a 100% safe case. We're in the crypto space, right? It's like you never know what's going to happen. Even if you do like a thorough due diligence, there's always like a chance that something can go wrong. But what you can do is you can minimize the risk, and that's what like I personally like to say. Trading is not about gaining money. First of all, it's about not losing money. And with the Launchpad, with BlastUp, I think one of the main ideas is for people not to lose money. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to eliminate all the sketchy ones and make sure that we reduce the risk to the best minimum that we can. By the way, also we have a KYB process. We also work with registered companies only, so we don't have just some anonymous guys from their mom's basement building some meme tokens. We don't do that stuff. Now, the challenges that we face. The challenges that we face at this point, like I mentioned, we're at the expansion phase. We're at the growth phase. I have to be honest. One of the challenges that we face, in my opinion, the biggest one is the lack of support. Like I mentioned, we brought 18,000 plus users that we also educated to fully use the chain, to use a wallet, all that kind of stuff. And we got exactly zero support from the chain that we're working on. And this is a topic that, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of builders. I talk to a lot of, people who make projects on different chains. All of them say that, at this point, the majority, I don't know if like it's everyone or not, but the majority that I talk to personally, again, this is my personal experience, I heard that there's a lack of support, and that's it. The Blast chain doesn't really give you much support. We got exactly zero support from them, so we're just doing this on our own. I'm not saying that, I'm trying to diss the Blast chain or something like that. No, that's not the idea. I'm just saying what it is. And it's a challenge for us because, it would have been easier if we would got some sort of support, if we would got like, something, I don't know, like. But that's not the case for every chain. And this is probably one of the things I wanted to stress in this whole, presentation. For the people who are building on different chains, one of the things, like once again, going back to a couple of slides before, what should you consider when, going for a chain, like choosing a specific chain? Try to investigate what's the vibe. Try to investigate how does the chain support projects, like if they actually have, this, positive feedback from other builders that, they're communicating to projects, they're supporting projects, they have like different mechanisms in place how they could, I don't know, give you grants or at least communicate if they have some incentives like Blast had gold and points and stuff. Other chains have different things going on. If they're willing to share that, are they taking their time to kind of evaluate what's going on, or they just pick like just I don't know, just out of the blue they just pick some projects and they just get the whole support and that's it. They don't really care. So make sure you really investigate that before you start. I mean, it's always like, again, it's not easy, but that's the challenge that we face at least. But again, we did a lot on our own, and I think we're going to do this. Just keep building. In terms of the roadmap, now, like I said, everything we promised to deliver, we did it. Not to waste more time, just going to be brief on this. Quarter 3, quarter 4, keep an eye out on the airdrops. We do have a lot of airdrops. We give back to the community. We have a whole point system. We have loot boxes. Loot boxes have a lot of different interesting stuff going on. Tier 1 NFTs, some stables, something to give back to our community to make people happy. Quarter 3, quarter 4 airdrops, and we're also expanding to an incubator. We get a lot of requests from projects to kind of help them on multiple fronts, and we're going to get there. That's quarter 4, and that's it. That's it, pretty much. Thank you guys for your time, for everyone who attended. My name was Den. If you want to link up, you got my Telegram, you got my Twitter, and make sure you follow BlastUp. That's BlastUp_IO on Twitter. Thank you very much.